Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you in another video. All right, first thing in the morning, fresh out of bed, just made myself some breakfast and realized that we forgot to talk about Christian Wood's interest coming from the Chicago Bulls yesterday. That was something I found out about and didn't make a video, but I'm aware. I'm definitely aware, and honestly, I don't know if I'm viewing it as a Laker fan through the proper lens because, of course, our team is after Christian Wood, and obviously he has other suitors that would want him on their team, but I don't believe that I've really considered the fits very much as of late, only because the only team that really has had um, interest in him in terms of what's been told to us is the Lakers. And possibly returning back to Dallas for another bench role where he'd get like 15 minutes a game. So I just didn't look at that as realistic. And, when you consider his prospect in regards to going to Chicago, I think it's actually a very good situation there for both parties. He wouldn't be asked to have as much of a role in regards to uh, the responsibility he would have to winning. He would not be on him to get back to the level where he was in order to help the team. They have plenty of forwards, including a guy like Patrick Williams, who's only getting better every year. Um, so many different players like Caruso and Levine and DeRozan and Vucevic, who would ultimately just make for them to have a really deep, strong basketball team. Um, and he would just yet be another piece that would be comparable to them. No expectations to win championships, uh, and really an opportunity for him to just kind of slip into a system and just play freely without expectations, which could be a good thing for him. Coming to the Lakers, you got to back up AD. We're going to be looking for you to play defense. We're trying to win a championship. If all of these things don't fall into place, it could be the end of the road for a guy like Christian Wood, to where if his value falls from here, he might be out the league. So while I know he wants to be home in Los Angeles since he's from Long Beach, I don't know if the Lakers is the best place for him with all of the expectations we have for him to play well and ultimately overcome some weaknesses that have been very glaring for him. Chicago, I don't think it's going to be incumbent upon him to do anything other than score the ball, and sit down. And so that's really it. I think as a Laker fan, I've been on record saying that because of all of his defensive deficiencies, I'm kind of cool on Christian Wood unless he's at a minimum. And at that point, I would be fine with him, being able to play up the role. I think that he would from there play up that role and ultimately earn himself some money in the coming years if he were to play well here. And we have a good track record with having guys do that. Um, but the role, like I said, he would have to play defense. We would need him to be a weak side guy. We would need him to rebound well and all those different things. And so Christian Wood is a player who has all-star upside on the offensive end. If you could cover him defensively, you expect good things out of him. Um, and I don't think he wouldn't have played better with the Dallas Mavericks if he were given a good dose of minutes. But they had so many deficiencies defensively that they couldn't afford to have him out there. So I think if he were to return to Dallas this year with the defensive players they have in place, his piece actually makes more sense in Dallas than it ever would have, and it probably fits better in Dallas than it does in some other areas, and maybe he's considered right now because of the presence of Lively and Omax and all those other guys that have now been incorporated into the situation. So I don't know if he would be returning there at all. The way that Jason Kidd's, you know, usage of him kind of went, I wouldn't want to go back there, to be honest with you, if I were him. But at the same time, you got to consider the fact that these roles are his role would be different if he were to return there, and their goals are different at this point than they were last year. So it's an interesting situation for Christian Wood. I think his options are pretty solid, but Chicago's a very good one. And I think for the Bulls, if they were to get him, you would have to feel better about their overall um, chances of gaining ground in the Eastern Conference. I don't think they're a very good team right now because a lot of their pieces don't make sense. But what they have been doing is piling on very good role players. Torrey Craig, um, Carter from Milwaukee. And now if they were to get Christian Wood here, I would imagine they probably will re-sign Ayo Dosunmu. they have a pretty good team. Getting Vucevic back down there, even though people don't really love Vucevic um, for the Bulls in a lot of situations, I've been on record saying I don't think he's the right fit for them. At the end of the day, he's an all-star center, and I don't think his contract is ridiculous. To be honest with you, not per dollar amount. I believe he made 20, and that's pretty much cost for what you expect he's going to give you so long as he's healthy. But DeRozan's on tab. Levine's in place. Doesn't look like there's any certainty really in regards to Zach LaVine. I've heard reports that say they have no interest in trading Zach LaVine. I've heard reports that says they are trying to trade Zach LaVine. So his situation is all over the place. But at the end of the day, he's rounding into form in terms of his prime. It's obviously a next level alien-like athlete who could score 3-point shots with the best of them. He's only getting better. He does have his limitations in terms of his decision making. Certain things he does out there, I don't quite agree with at times. Did disappear against the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament, I believe it was. But at the same time, this is somebody who throughout the regular season can really, really, really run the score up. And if you have the right teammates next to him, you probably have a contender on your hands. So his contract's not the greatest, but it's comparable to some of the other contracts that are now being signed, so it doesn't look as bad as it did in previous years. And it's a good time to acquire him if you're another team, and it's probably a good time to move him if you're Chicago, because you could use the flexibility. You could flat out use the flexibility, and his contract doesn't provide that, and you don't have a win-now situation. That flexibility is lacking given the fact that Lonzo Ball may not be back for ever, maybe. Hopefully he does get his knees back to a space where they can run in this league. But right now, all the reports are saying he's definitely going to be out for a long time. So they have him on tab for about $100 million when they signed it. That's money they need for other players and things of that nature. I know they got some type of, return for the injury itself in regards to some type of provision or something came their way. But I don't think it did enough for them to be where they want to be. Moving Zach LaVine for the right package could put them in a position to get there. Maybe not, but I know that they're not there right now. So that's why I look at the Chicago Bulls and say maybe a trade makes sense. Maybe moving DeMar DeRozan makes sense. I would imagine he has a lot of value still in this league. He still plays at the MVP level. His contract is somewhat matured. At this point, I don't think there would be a problem for a team to acquire it. So I just think Chicago can make some moves, but picking up Christian Wood makes you feel a lot better about them in terms of their depth. And withstanding injury is obviously a thing for the Chicago Bulls. So I don't know what the Lakers' interest is in Christian Wood at this point, because last I heard there's been some rumblings about a player not wanting him on the team. They didn't mention who that player was. Also understand that he's had coaching stints with Darvin Ham as an assistant, and he being a player on the team as well in different places, more than one from what I understand. We know Christian Wood has played for a few teams before he became a well-known name. So I don't know if his reputation is as bad as it sounds like it is, but that is how it's being floated around. Whatever the case may be, honestly, I don't have a problem with bringing in Christian Wood again at a minimum price. I think he could be an addition to our team, really helping us scoring the ball specifically. But if guys are going to have problems with him, if it's going to be a chemistry issue, obviously we need to move in a different direction. We don't want to sign up for anything like that, whatever that may mean. Honestly, we don't. We have too many young players, and our window is win now in the process of that. So we got to be on a string, and we got to get off to a good start. So that's what I think the Lakers should ultimately be thinking about. No excess drama. So yeah, that's what it is. And of course, getting Anthony Davis to sign that extension, or rather offering him an extension that we could be pleased with, I think it should be a priority. If they're not going to get him an extension, we need to be considering trading him. No two ways about it. You do not let Anthony Davis hit free agency. You absolutely don't do that. So I say give him the extension. That should not be something that we're thinking too much about. That's what I want to say. I don't think, as they say, don't overthink anything in this situation. Don't overthink this. Don't don't overthink this. Anthony Davis is the best defensive player in the league. He's a superstar who's still tradable. And at the end of the day, if you sign him to a good contract, I'm pretty sure you'll be pleased with that one way or another. Now, the only problem you have with him is injury history, and we've talked about that many times. But if you go to try to trade him right now, I don't know that you're going to get the return you're looking for, only because of that injury history. So it's one of those situations where if you let him go into the Wild, you're probably not going to replace him with a better player, meaning if you let him go into free agency. He walks and that value walks. You don't recoup that with signing whoever you think you're going to sign, probably. But if you sign him to the wrong contract, it could become untradeable. So these are things we understand. If he goes down, we could find ourselves with a Mozgov, Luol Deng-like situation with his contract. If he happens to retire early or something like that, you don't want, you know what I mean? The injury issues do raise concerns, but at the end of the day, that's Anthony Davis, arguably a top 10 player in the league. And if you're not going to keep him, you can get a return for him. But if you don't keep him happy, it does reflect poorly on your reputation. And we've restored our reputation. So I think that's a big part of what Jeanie Buss's goal is to have the Lakers looking the right way. And I think making sure that Anthony Davis is happy here and, basically continues to win championships here is the best way to make the Lakers look their best, in my humble opinion. So I think that that's more so a priority of our team right now, to appear mature, to appear sharp, to appear A1 across the board. And where my mind honestly goes, ladies and gentlemen? When we reach the highest peak, does Jeanie keep the team or does she sell it at its highest price? I never thought of her selling the team before, but it just crossed my mind right now. And I think for no other reason than it just might reach its highest price. Not to say that the Lakers would ever lose value, but when it's clicking on all cylinders and you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and championship banners, you got a young team, you got the books in order, and it's the Lakers, probably sell that thing for like $5 billion, man. Just saying that I don't necessarily want her to sell the team. But what I look at is the competition that's being led into the league. That's what I see. And it's just like, can you keep up? Is it even possible to, when you let certain types of whales in? It's like, is it even possible to keep up? And is it going to continue to be the same league that it's been when you do? And so those are the type of things that I think about. And it just seems to me that the league is starting to slowly but surely let a different type of owner in, to where the pockets are literally endless. And they will be able to go over the tax. And they will be able to do certain things that eventually just make it so that you almost have no salary cap. Because that's really what they're going to want eventually. They're not going to want no cap. And so I just wonder if it's going to push, certain owners to kind of just get out. You know what I mean? I literally wonder if the Ballmers and some of these tech guys are just going to be so wealthy that it's going to make it so that some of the owners that have been in place for a while are just not playing the same game anymore. And so that's what's crossing my mind. It seems like Jeanie Buss's team is starting to reach to a point where it's like we're going to be clicking on all cylinders as basically the A1 standard in operations, based on how we've been doing things with our cap and some of the different moves that have been made around us, for which it's just not been as careful. It makes it so that you're A1. And when you have the Lakers being your brand already, which is probably worth about as much as any brand in the league, in the world, as it pertains to sports, when you're doing well and you have that at the same time, you got to imagine the value is ridiculously high, especially when you have the players on team with the names that they have. So these are things that you consider. Not watch Mike just sell the team. I hear that the Washington football team, or whatever they've changed the name to now, it's hard to keep up in the NFL with that team, but Snyder's deal just got finalized. He's now out, and it just crossed my mind right now if the Lakers and maybe some other owners as well are thinking that way. Like, let me just get this thing to a spot where it's at its highest point and cash out. Cash out, because the game ain't the same, and they're going to be the same going forward. And it's been a hell of a ride over the last what, 20, 30 years, however it's been for them. And I know they love the Lakers, but you just wonder if they want to still do it. And for me, if I was in this situation, I dug myself out of that hole that we just got out of as a Laker organization, the bad stuff that was going on with the roster and everything else. I would just wonder if Jeannie's tired of this. I wonder. I wonder if she still wants to go forward with this, if the family still want to go forward with this the same way. I wonder. I wonder if they see it as the same type of business. Because to me, I see it as a different one. I see it as a much different one. You got to be willing to invest maybe twice as much, maybe 3 times as much into the teams going forward to make them run at the level that we want to make the team run. But keep up with these guys who are going to be willing to go over the tax every time. So that's what I'm wondering about. I'm wondering about that. Not to say that I've heard a thing about that. I have not. Not starting a rumor. No, not at all. This is just me wondering if that's what I'm looking at. Is the team is reaching a point where we're becoming the standard in everything. And as it pertains to how we are putting together our team and managing everything, as I've already said. So it's like now the Lakers are looking like a very serious, franchise once again. Obviously our name was, but you're looking at us and saying, okay, they got one of the best GMs in the league. You got the young crop that you respect. You got the scouts that you respect. It's an attractive situation right now if you're a buyer, basically, if you're someone who's looking to buy a team. So, I know there would be no shortage of people all over the world who would want to purchase the Lakers at record prices. I'll tell you that right now. It would be mind-blowing, some of the offers she would get for this team. I'm just telling you right now. I said $5 billion, but there are people out there who may look at the Lakers specifically as something to own, man. Just because of how well known it's known all over the world. And so that's something that I don't doubt at all. I don't doubt that at all. If you put this thing up for sale, leave it up there long enough, you're gonna hear some numbers. It's gonna be like, what? What? That's how it goes. And I think the same would be for the Yankees. I think the same would be for the Cowboys. I think the same would be for some of those teams overseas that play soccer/football. You best believe it. And so it's just a different day, man. It's a different day. And because of it, I just wonder if we're going to see a change in the guard as it pertains to some of the people who are in place as governors/owners in the NBA. I just wonder. Dare I say if they're not going to be pushed out. Never mind if it's even, you know what I mean? If they're going to be pushed out for that same reason. So I don't know. I have no idea. But I hope not. I think Jeannie's one of the best owners in the league. She's shown us time and time again that she's focused on getting this team to where it needs to be. We're happy with where we are at this point, and we think we can get a championship very soon, so long as we stay on the course. So you get the wrong owner in, it may not feel that way. Heck, the team may be somewhere else. So these are the type of things that we as fans don't want, and that's why I would hope that Jeannie would not sell the team. But you know what I mean? There are people on a different side of the spectrum. I've heard other opinions as well. But like I said, get the wrong owner in here and you don't know what you're in for. It changed the colors, changed the name. you just never know, man. But that is pretty much the thought on that, man. That's the thought on that. So, yeah, I hope everybody's having a good day. I am. I'm definitely enjoying myself. Just put some new things together in regards to my art. So I asking everybody check out BDF 44 on ArtPal. Just posted some art up there. So I haven't put a price tag on anything, but you know what I mean? I'm looking to just get some exposure in that field and just start to show how well-rounded I can be. So check me out on ArtPal. And that's pretty much what I got, man. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.